Hi guys, welcome back to the Sanctuary Altar. My name is Diana. So, what is a cycle of bondage? Cycles of bondage are just patterns that run down a family lineage. You'll see something that your grandfather did it, your uncle will do it, your auntie will do it, your children will do it, your children's children will do it, your son will do it, your daughter will do it. That is a cycle of bondage. If something that is not respectable in society has ever been done in your family, and they stand in glory to justify it without shame, without remorse, without calling yourself to a meeting and saying, how is this action going to impact my destiny? How is this action going to offend God? That is a cycle of bondage. Bondages are simply wrongdoings that are glorified. They are wrongdoings that happen in families and no one is rising up against it. It might skip a generation and it catches up with the next. And it will take a lot of wisdom and a lot of sensitivity in the spirit for you to know this is a cycle of bondage, and I will not be the vessel that will continue this bondage. I will not be in slavery, because sin will always lead to slavery. You become a slave to sin when you carry on family cycles and family patterns. Yeah. And it's going to take a lot of sensitivity. If you're not sensitive, you will sit in it, you will carry it down and down and down until one of you rises up and accepts to be the priest of the family and break these generational patterns like untimely death, premature death, poverty, polygamy, infidelity, siring children out of wedlock, siring children out of plenty of women, creating soul ties, having no self-control, alcoholism, domestic violence. All these are cycles of bondage. When you sit down, you will realize that you're not the first one in your family to do it. You will realize that you're not the only one in your family that did it. Look at the generation before you. Most likely, if it has skipped that generation, look at the generation before the generation before you. And if you see a cycle skipping and coming to you, you know it has found a new vessel. It is a bloodline. They have access to you through blood. So you don't cease praying, and you must resist. When you resist, the devil flees. The worst form of slavery is a cycle of bondage that goes down generation after generation after generation. And if you are not sensitive to the things of the spirit, this life is spiritual whether you acknowledge it or you don't. Life is spiritual whether you like it or you don't. It is, things happen in the spirit years before they manifest here in the world. So your duty is to pray and destroy it before it manifests through you. The worst kind of sin a sin of bondage because you have no control over yourself. You are being controlled by your forefathers. You're being controlled by covenants, family covenants that you entered knowingly and unknowingly. And there's always a cheerleader behind it. There's always a candidate that is behind it, that is fueling it, cheering you on. Then there is the doer, that is the vessel. Behind the vessel is an enabler. Behind the vessel is a cheerleader that is going to make you think what you're doing is not wrong. And it is going to take a lot of sensitivity, acknowledgement, remorse, dying to self for you to know that this is a cycle of bondage. How do I come out of it? Salvation. Salvation. So they appoint two characters, the cheerleader behind the vessel. The cheerleader's job is to make the vessel think what they are doing is okay. Validate what the vessel is doing. And both these individuals are not aware because they're in bondage. It is going to take a third party outside of that to know this is a bondage. And if you research and go deep into why the vessel and the cheerleader are the way they are, you will see that that pattern has reoccurred. It's recurring in the lineage. It's recurring in the lineage. And the worst part is that bondages don't give you anything. You end up losing. You always get the short end of the stick. Now stand up and renounce those bondages and declare with your mouth, you have no authority over me. I will be different. My children will be different. My children's children will be different, because when you're declaring, you're saving 10 generations after that. Do you see how powerful it is to renounce some of these cultural beliefs? I will not be a vessel. I will not be the cheerleader behind the vessel. Bondages are not okay. They are not okay. No one is going to tell you the truth, but they are not okay. You will lose. And when you lose, when the devil is done with you, he drops you and he goes on to the next. He will drop you because your job is over. You have awakened a pattern that had died. And after that, he will leave you there to suffer. You will suffer. Nothing good comes out of bondages. That's why we are rising up. We are praying. We are denying. We are correcting what our forefathers did wrong. We shall not be in that slavery. Sin leads to slavery. You become a slave to sin. We don't want to be slaves anymore. Enough is enough. That is why we are rising up. We want to pray for our children. We want to pray for our children's children, because they are the ones that we can save. They came out of us. We have awakened to these patterns. We have awakened to these behaviors. We have awakened to these losses, and we don't want to see our children going through that. So we have risen up. We are breaking cycles of bondage. Rise up and break that cycle of bondage that is following you in your family.